Welcome to the Network for College Success's Postsecondary Toolkit. This is just the first in a short series of videos that will accompany the tools in Component 1, Toolset C, Developing Systems to Monitor College Applications. Our focus in this video series will be on modeling some practical techniques that counselors or members of a post-secondary leadership team can use to leverage the huge amount of data that's associated with the college search process. In particular, we're going to focus on using that data in some very operational ways that can help direct the efforts and attention of counselors towards the students who need it the most when they need it the most. To illustrate how data can help with this, let's start by examining the multi-tiered systems of support model that accompanies this video. Like most multi-tiered models, this diagram envisions the activities of counselors as a pyramid shape, where the foundation represents the universal structures or practices that are meant to benefit all students and which all students have access to. For example, your school may host a college fair in the fall that's open or even mandatory for all seniors. Or perhaps all students are programmed into an advisory period, and in the winter you hold a FAFSA workshop as a guidance lesson in every senior advisory. These strategies would be part of your first tier. There are likely only a few out of many such strategies, and these practices probably comprise the majority of the college counseling work done in your school. In general, the stronger this foundation, that is, the more varied and high quality these supports are, the fewer of your students will end up needing extra help. But no matter how strong your first tier is, it is likely that some of your students will struggle at some point in the process. This is when you need to supplement that work with a second tier that's both targeted at the individual students who need it and also delivered to them in a timely way. The second tier of our multi-tiered model looks like a staggered timeline. At any given point in the timeline, only a subgroup of the senior class is even considered for those second-tier interventions. These subgroups are determined by the student's academic qualifications. Students with the grades and test scores that would allow them to be admitted to a selective college are targeted first. This is because colleges with more competitive admissions tend to be the ones that offer early decision or early action application windows. That means if a student with a very strong GPA and standardized test scores falls behind or gets distracted from applying to college, they will still have a wider range of opportunities open to them if their counselor proactively reaches out in November, and relatively fewer options if that support doesn't reach them until February. Since the colleges with less competitive admissions are also more likely to have later deadlines, rolling admissions, or even open enrollment, then receiving extra support from a counselor later in the year would still be a timely intervention for a student with more average to below average academic qualifications. Having a structure like this in place, which identifies which students are falling off track in the applications early and then quickly responds with proactive counseling services, is one of the keys in moving from good to great in your post-secondary practice. If you're interested by the approach, but are still wondering how exactly you can implement it, then the rest of the videos in this series will dig deeper into a few aspects of the process. In the next video, we will answer the question of how do you go about grouping students into those college access levels to begin with. In the third video, we'll demonstrate how to calculate whether any given application is well matched academically to the student's qualifications. And then we'll explore some different ways to use both qualitative and quantitative data to identify which students should receive Tier 2 support. In the last video, we will demonstrate how, once you begin to calculate things like students' college access and the academic match of each application, you can begin to put that data back in the hands of students themselves so they can be more informed consumers during their own college search. Finally, I want to make a few general notes about the entire series of videos. First, the techniques we're going to demonstrate all require access to clean, accurate data about your students, their academic qualifications, and their college applications. If you face barriers accessing this type of data, or if your school doesn't have a routine practice yet for entering and maintaining it in some kind of system, then you won't fully be able to use these techniques yet. There are some commercially available software systems out there which, if used faithfully to track applications, will allow you to run reports that are sufficient to do whatever we show here. Second, we're only going to focus on data techniques for moving to the second tier of our model. The most intensive tier of our model is for students in severe circumstances. Data doesn't quite play the same role in identifying them, and their circumstances tend to be very specific and harder to generalize about. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in our next video, Calculating College Access.